Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are here with another episode of Dark, episode 3 of the third and final season. Yeah, last time on Dark, Adam and Eve. At least I'm calling her Eve for the time being because I have no idea how to distinguish her from the other versions of Martha that we've been encountered so far. And there was a photo in the last episode, a painting I should say, where I believe that was a depiction of you know Adam and Eve that this old Martha had in in her home there. So I'm referring to her as Eve for the time being. There was a bit of interesting dialogue. It wasn't the last episode, but it ties back to the last episode where Martha had a discussion with the stranger, and she said that I took Jonas to my world, but the stranger denied it, and I'm wondering, where his convictions have now gone. When he returned in season 2, he did say that, no more secrets because the secrets are what got them here. Yet he's here denying the fact that he has been to her world. I suppose there's a possibility that he's trying to protect the others, but then when we meet older Magnus and older Franziska with Adam, they are aware that he is Jonas. So eventually they do find out. So why is he hiding that now? Whatever the case, I suspect Bartosz will be pushing against him at some point, and maybe he eventually kills him. We do not see Bartosz with the others, with Adam and the others at any point. So there must be a reason for his absence. So that would be I'll be curious to see. Yeah, we did go back to the what is now a zone that no one is allowed to enter, and well, maybe not leave. We saw Peter and Ellie and where the characters are sometime after the explosion. I mean, it's not as apocalyptic as I was expecting it to be. The outside world outside of Wyndham is impacted, but lesser to a lesser extent than the actual town where the event took place. So there is a world out there. They can leave, for whatever reason they've chosen not to. Um, I suspect Ellie, with the information that she has gathered, she remained there in the hopes that she would someday meet her mom, which we have seen she has, but it just took a very, very, very long time, and she ended up, you know, birthing her mom. So I do wonder, it still plagues me as to why they chose to stay there, and perhaps it comes back to the whole desire because, she desperately wants her mom to come back, and we see that same scenario play out with Regina and Claudia. With one of the huge revelations last episode, of course, with the fact that Trant is actually Regina's dad. I think I speculated about this in season 1 because there was no, in the family tree that I put together, there was no dad there, it was just Claudia. And there is another one that's missing as well, which is uh, who is Peter's mom, for example. I know I've not forgotten about it, but it's something that the show has slightly, passed over. So who exactly was Helg with? Who's Peter's mom? We still don't know that. And if we're to believe that, that Helg's dad, what's his name, Bernd is not his actual dad, then who is Helg's actual father? So there are a few parental question marks still hanging in the air. And of course, the open doors, which I am still waiting to come back in some way, shape, or form, but it has not as yet. So quite a few questions that remain unanswered. There is um, the meeting with Katarina and her mom, which got me thinking. I think I mentioned it in my discussion in the last episode. Just a bit of having met her mom and her mom having the very same pendant, Saint Christopher's, the travelers. I'm wondering if it ties back to the story that when Jonas went back to the day before it all happened, and he met them all at this lake, and there were a few of them were diving, And they were talking about some woman drowning there. I know it would be going to a very dark place, but I'm wondering if somehow Katerina ends up killing her mom in the lake, and then that pendant that she had around her neck is what Martha and Eunice later, finds later on. So I don't know, guys. I would not put it past the show to go there, right? They killed a pregnant woman just 2 episodes ago, or an episode ago, right? I cannot help but think that there is some connection there, but that we'll see, we'll see. And I think that was the last episode as well. I have to bring this up again because Waller, I absolutely love what they've been doing with Waller so far. The eye patch. I think someone had mentioned in season 2 or towards the end there. Someone in the comments had mentioned that the actor who plays Waller had surgery done, or he had to have his eye covered for a portion of the shoot. And so the writers just wrote that in for the character, so he just had that eye patch for the duration of the series with no explanation. And then now here in season 3, in this new world that this parallel world that we've now entered, he has a missing arm, which I'm hoping is not what happened to the actual actor, but something that they just decided to throw in there because it's just hilarious to have that guy continue from one world to the next where he's missing something, and there's no explanation for it. But that was just one of the funniest things, or the few funny things in the series that is just hilarious. But enough talk. Episode 3, guys. I can't wait to see what other secrets are revealed. So let's check it out.
Das Spinnrad sich dreht. Runde um Runde.
Yeah, who is this blind old man? And how did he know about Sigmundus?
Blut, der unser aller Tun verbindet.
Ah, Ariadne. Oh, it's another old man. Oh, okay. The old man when he was a young man. Same pocket watch. So Tannhaus didn't make it then. Interesting.
Eda, was machen Sie da auf dem Wege?
Is this a different Charlotte, or is it...
Wer Augen hat zu sehen und Ohren zu hören?
Clausen?
Ich verstehe nicht.
Huh.
Doch, das tun sie.
Oh, these guys are busy. He already knows.
Aus der Zukunft. Die Welt muss erfahren, dass es sie gibt.
Was wir nicht wissen. Ein Ozean.
Oh. I did not realize that.
Unseres Denkens ist, dass ein jeder von uns glaubt, eine unabhängige Einheit zu sein. Doch in Wirklichkeit alle nur Bruchteile eines unendlichen Ganzen sind.
Technically, if you follow, Adam and Eve being the first of man, we're all related.
Du und ich. Adam und Eva. Das ist es, was wir sind.
Ich habe 33 Jahre
Ja,
meinen Bruder
he
gesucht.
found out a lot earlier here.
Das sind seine Sachen. Das sind Mats Sachen.
Okay, so he doesn't think it's his brother. He thinks someone put his clothes on
Dass
him.
mein Bruder verschwunden ist. Daran nicht, er so ziemlich jeden Fehler gemacht, den man sich vorstellen kann. Und ich habe mir geschworen, dass ich das alles anders mache.
And yet here you are.
So wie ich die Frau, wie ich meine Frau betrogen habe.
Nope. I mean, he's worse than the other Ulrich, but he's doing what the other Ulrich never had the guts to do. I mean, he did it eventually, but, you know, not early enough.
Wo wart ihr? Was hat sie dir erzählt?
He's gonna deny that he's Adam.
Sag ihnen, wer Martha wirklich getötet hat.
And yet later on they're still following Adam. So I don't know why.
Sag es ihm! Sag ihm, wer da wirklich ist!
Oh, they are fighting again.
Jonas ist in allem schuld! Er ist es! Er ist Adam!
What's Martha hoping to accomplish here, though?
Du hast gesehen, was du tun wirst. Was Adam tun wird. Wenn du willst, dass deine Martha lebt, dann musst du dich für die Seite des Lichts entscheiden.
They all want the same thing. I don't trust her. I do not trust her.
Überhaupt gar nichts mehr müssen. Ich hab die Schnauze voll davon, immer irgendwas zu müssen!
Dann frag dich. Willst du, dass sie lebt?
Ist Magnus auch da? Was ist da wirklich passiert im Bunker? Was habt ihr gesehen?
Ich hab die Wahrheit gesagt. Wir sind in dem Bunker und der Bunker war... Ist dieser Körper runtergefallen?
Habt ihr was genommen?
I think she was
Kilian euch was gegeben?
drugged up or high.
Du interessierst dich doch sonst auch einen Scheißdreck für uns.
Es ist genauso, wie wir es gesagt haben. Da war dieses Geräusch, es kam aus den Höhlen oder aus der Erde oder keine Ahnung.
Facility.
Mama ist gleich zurück. Du solltest jetzt besser gehen. Aber ich find's nett, dass du mal vorbeigekommen bist, um zu gucken, wie es uns geht.
Hanna. Ist Ulrich da? Hat den ganzen Morgen versucht, ihn zu erreichen.
She's on the same side that Katharina was on now, you know? I thought he went home.
Warst du beim Friseur? Nein?
Smelling her as well. I know this smell.
Viel Zeit dafür gebraucht, das zu verstehen. Dass du deine Vergangenheit nicht gehen lassen kannst. Dass du dich immer für sie, für deine Martha entscheidest. Du hast Adam vertraut. Aber wohin hat es dich geführt?
But Adam would have already experienced all of this and still, you know,
Alles zusammenhängt.
still he's continued on the path that he's on. Weren't you?
Warum kann ich mich da nicht daran erinnern?
So he wasn't lying.
Ich weiß es nicht.
Davon mal spontan aus. Er hat versucht, jemanden von den Toten zurückzuholen. Seine Frau. Aber es bringt keine Lösung.
Prevent it before it even happens.
Verdammt.
Bound by the same desires Jonas
Ich weiß,
was.
du denkst, du kannst mir nicht trauen. Ich will dir beweisen, dass du es kannst.
Why can't he remember her though?
Das ist die letzte, die ich habe. Sie ist der einzige Weg für mich, um wieder zurückzukommen.
So this is who they work for. I thought they were trying to erase like everyone involved.
Sagen können, auf welchen Weg du ihn schickst.
So this is just one side playing against the other.
Kreislauf zu durchbrechen. Verstehen. Dass wir den Knoten erhalten müssen. Dass seine Macht sterben muss. Damit alle anderen leben.
So she wants to preserve the knot, preserve the cycle. Same wrapping. Why is it here? It's happening again.
Ich wollte zu Kilian.
Okay. There was no mention of Eric having a brother in the other world.
Mein Vater hat angerufen. Wollte wissen, ob ich euch was untergeschoben habe.
Wow, really?
Nein, verdammte Scheiße, habe ich nicht.
Hasn't lived there for 2 years.
Jetzt gehst du. Okay.
Stop being such a stalker, Eunice.
Ich will dir ein Geschäft vorschlagen.
Dankeschön.
Ich habe etwas, das dir gehört.
I said it in the other world, you know, in the previous season. You know, it seemed a bit odd that Alexander had just gone along with her request, when he could just get rid of her with the resources he appears to have. And it would appear this Alexander is
Erkennst du sie wieder?
going to do the very same thing.
Ich will, dass du Charlotte fertig machst.
It's even
Ich will,
more
dass sie alles verliert.
unusual now for him not to know that we know what he did was kill someone back in the 80s. So he has no issue killing someone. I'm just saying, it seems a lot easier to solve his problem rather than just going along with what she's asking him to do. Oh, I see not much has changed with Peter.
Was machst du denn hier?
Profession may have changed, but nothing else.
Danke. Sag mir's.
87, als du nach Winden gekommen bist. Hat dein Vater da noch in der Hütte gelebt?
Ich verstehe nicht.
Hat er oder hat er nicht?
Nein. Er ist nach dem Unfall ins Heim.
And who is your mother, Peter?
Doppler?
Help's missing.
Ja.
verändert, was?
Okay. That's different.
Den Jungen getötet. Aber lass das.
What good does this do, though? You've already done the deed. You know, getting arrested now doesn't change
Die Sachen
anything.
von Mats Nielsen, der Junge, der in 86 verschwunden ist.
Hast du seine Sachen? Was hast du mit Mats gemacht? Was hast du mit ihm gemacht? Du lebst. Was? Du bist es gewesen.
You attacked him. Why are people always walking through dark woods? I mean, it's a small town, I suppose. It's the short way home.
Magnus dem Kindergarten den Zahn ausgeschlagen hat. Da war ich da.
Did that happen here?
Auf der Klassenfahrt. In der 3. Als du so Heimweh hattest, dass Katharina dich abholen musste.
How does he know any of those events happen the same way here? She needs him to do this so that she still becomes older Martha. And he just keeps being used by all these people.
Bist du wirklich?
You would have thought after what happened with Adam, he would have been a bit more diligent in who he trusts.
Wie alles zusammenhängt.
Not enough power. Oh, such a small quantity though. I mean, it took barrels of the stuff for it to work the first time.
Wo ist Martha?
So what's the plan here? She could have done all this ahead of time. What was the point of that then? I mean, I figure much like Jonas, she's being manipulated by her older self because she needs him to become Adam as well. Damn, Elk looks in worse shape than he was in the other world. Yeah, you're both cheating. There be lights. What is Eve planning?
Du hast es ihm gegeben.
Oh, Adam.
Ich
Ich war schon immer zu leichtgläubig.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. Why is she going along with it though? Uh, She could be just as gullible as Jonas is, but I mean, I don't think he has any clue.
Sie hat gesagt, dass sie dich hierher bringen soll.
And I went along with it. Oh, her future looks far more barren than
Wer ist das?
the one he was in. Okay, I was waiting for her 33-year self, her stranger self to show up.
Willkommen in der Zukunft.
All right, episode 3 of Dark. Wow. I mean, not a whole lot happened this episode. At least not as far as moving the actual plot along. We have a few moments with a lot of focus on Ulrich, his family, just to see what the sort of counteraction to what we've seen in the alternate world is here. Um, uh, Mads still disappeared, and I think one of the few nitpicks I have with this season so far. I know I've been having some reservations about this season. I'm giving it a fair shot. But one of the few other nitpicks that I have is um, ideally, knowing what events took place in this world versus what changes happen in the alternate world as well. We've had several characters speak about events that happened in this world as though they happened the exact same way they did in Jonas's world. But from our perspective, given that we've seen so many things occurring differently, we can't take it for granted that everything that they're seeing is actually factual, or we have no way of knowing that this happened the exact same way here. Jonas was having a discussion with Martha here, and he spoke about some things that happened when they were kids, and saying that he was there, but how do we know that those things happened the exact same way to this Martha as they did to his Martha? And the character, I mean, from her expression, she didn't really reply to say, okay, this I remember, or this didn't happen. So I'm not sure if that's confirmation or not, but there were a few of those moments in this episode where I'm thinking to myself, did that actually happen here? And I spoke about it earlier when, after the first episode in my discussion, that one of the reasons why this season will feel a bit rushed is that we don't have the experiences that Jonas had along the way. We don't have those experiences with Martha here in this season. We're essentially taking everyone at their word because we have no choice. We weren't there to see those events take place, so we don't know. So I mean, initially, I didn't even know whether Mads actually disappeared in this timeline until they actually said it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking so many things have happened differently here. It could be someone else, disappeared, not necessarily Mads. Because so many of the rules have switched. Even between Ellie and Franziska, their characters have completely flipped. So, that's just one of the few nitpicks I have so far. But I mean, Mads still disappeared. But from what Ulrich has said, it doesn't appear as though the boy that they found in the bunker was actually Mads. He said he was wearing his clothing, but and he had his ID, but he kept saying, where is he, or what did you do with him? So it appears as though this boy isn't Mads. He's just wearing the clothes Mads had when he vanished, and his ID, but he's still very much missing. So who is the boy? I don't think we focused on him to see who the boy actually was. So That is interesting. So we're still learning so much about this world, but we're just having all of that information thrown at us with no way to validate any of it. I mean, still very much looking forward to it, and some of the dialogue there, especially with Eve. I'm calling her Eve. The Eve to Jonas's Adam. It's quite interesting. So she's in fact not. I didn't trust her from the outset. And I'm eternally. I know a lot of persons have said, Jonas is still a teenager, so not to judge him so harshly, but this has happened to him once before, and that is where my frustration lies, because he was manipulated by Adam, and the consequences were dire. He saw Martha die, and to see him come here to this strange new world, and other older individuals, tells him some things that he wants to hear, much like the in the way Adam did, and he decides that, okay, this person is someone I can trust, and that is what frustrates me. It's not that he's a teenager, yes, but he's had this exact experience before. The face has changed. Who's telling him these things, but it's almost the same thing, and yet here he is doing the exact same thing. I'm not sure what Eve's objective is. I'm not sure. She says their fates are intertwined, and Adam is necessary. From what I interpret from what she's saying is that Adam is necessary to save both his world and hers, and that's what we've been since the very end of the last season, at least. That's been the mystery. Is Adam in fact necessary? My initial theory was that perhaps only one of these worlds can survive, because the nature of the wormhole itself has created this knot, and only one of these worlds can actually survive, either Jonas's or her world. And my expectation was that, okay, maybe that is Adam's objective. That's what's driving him now, to save his world and not necessarily hers, because only one can survive this. That was my initial theory. I'm not sure how much that still holds up now. There's been no evidence to completely throw that out just yet, but we'll see. It appears she needs this Jonas for her own existence. But I sort of feel as though that was kind of just thrown in there, because I'm still not sure as to how these. And perhaps it's a part of the cycle, but this new world was just kind of thrown into the equation without any meaningful explanation as to why these two worlds intertwine. So we didn't have a Tannhaus explaining that aspect of it to us. But we went back to the 1800s, and these assassins that Eve employs, I initially thought they were an outside factor, sort of a wild card that perhaps remnants of some timeline that they've experienced all of this themselves, and they've decided to just end it by ending every individual involved. But that turns out not to be the case, unfortunately, because I quite like that idea. Just having a third party that has nothing to do with the storyline. They just want to eliminate everyone because they've suffered all these everything themselves. But that is not the case, and it appears they are employed to her, and to what end, I'm unsure, because while she says the knot needs to remain, she took it upon herself to kill Bernd. She was I believe she was perhaps not looking for Claudia, but perhaps the schematics, where she killed Claudia's secretary. How is all that necessary to ensure Adam is still here? So there are a lot of questions as where it concerns this new Martha, this new world, how exactly that impacts the other, and the big mystery for me this episode was why the stranger doesn't have any recollection of visiting this Martha's world. I had mentioned before at the very start of this season that I had some suspicions as to whether this stranger is actually our Eunice's stranger and not the stranger from this or another alternate world. Um, but he seems to have had some of Eunice's experiences, but for some odd reason, just not what Eunice is experiencing at this point, which is odd. So I'm not quite sure how or why that would be happening unless there's this stranger is not our Eunice's stranger, but someone else. So that would be interesting. Not sure they'll go that route. Considering how far we are in the season, it would be a bit odd to introduce a third alternate world. A third world. So I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if they'll actually go down that road. But yeah, interesting guys. Interesting. It's we see Hannah being Hannah, of course, uh, doing the exact same thing that she did in the other world. Only, it was seeing her on the same side that Katerina was actually on. Wondering where her husband actually was when she actually needs him. And she actually does need him the most. And it's good to see her have that experience because, and I was worried for a minute that she was actually going to use the gun that she had hidden from Alexander and try to kill Charlotte, but she didn't. She went the same route in trying to get Alexander to do her bidding. But perhaps I said it again. I fail to see why Alexander continually bows to her demands in the other world or this one. There's so many alternative ways he could go, but it appears he's going to do the very same thing that the other Alexander actually did. So I don't think anything will actually change there. There was the identity of the blind old man at the very beginning. It appears he's a relative of Dr. Tannhaus, but um, I don't know. It all seems a bit. I suppose it's a possibility, but the only thing that threw me off was the actual pocket watch that the blind man's father actually had that said for Charlotte. And there was a discussion about he's trying to bring someone back from the dead, which was the thing I enjoyed the most about this episode in terms of where this actually began. Someone trying to bring back a loved one from the dead, and they came to the conclusion that while that's impossible, the best way to go about it would have been to save the person before they actually die, and that's how this started. Sigmundus. So that was an interesting revelation to see Tannhaus's roots in terms of who Charlotte is. Why that pocket watch exists in that timeline. You know, is Charlotte the very same Charlotte that he tried to see, that he tried to revive? How is that? How does that tie back to our Charlotte here and now? So, yeah, it's certainly interesting. Or perhaps they just gave her that name, because Dr. Tannhaus, whenever he got the baby, I'm not sure if she was named. He may have been the one to give her the name, and he may have just given her the same name that his grandfather or great grandfather would have most likely spoken about. So he may have just called her Charlotte. So there are a lot of possibilities, and I'm certainly interested in learning more about timeline and that town house and seeing that very first experiment and seeing how exactly that played out. That would be really interesting to actually see sort of a Frankenstein mad scientist scenario. So that would be interesting for me. All right, guys. Be sure to post down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. Hit like and subscribe, and I will see you guys for the next one.